Hey everybody, welcome to TradeScope. My name's Luis Garcia and I'm a part-time trader. This is my weekly recap where I talk about all the stocks that I've been trading lately. Before I get started, I have to let you know that this video is for educational purposes only and is not meant to be taken as financial advice. So let's get started because this week is the first week, sadly, that I have to report a loss to you guys. It started out okay. I traded 3 different stocks, and yeah, let's just get into it and see what happened. Right, I'm down. So first of all, I'm down $1,000 on the week. It's a bit more than I want to be down, to be honest with you, but it does take a little bit of a chunk out of my profits for the year. But it's not something I can't recover from, and that's the most important part. And it's also important that I cut my losses. Right. So let's kind of get into what happened. So the first trade of this week was on JVNR. Very high priced stock, but pretty low float. I traded it on Thursday. So let's bring up the chart from Thursday. It got halted a couple times. I think there was some news. Yeah, some type of purchases of like a merger. Let's see, the second execution under its newly adopted digital asset treasury strategy. This purchase brings Janover's total Solana holdings to $83,000, valued at approximately $9.6 million. So there's some sort of like digital currency company. But that's not the point. Point is relatively low float, especially compared to the very high price. They were jumping on my momentum scanner that morning, and they were also jumping on the halt scanner. So I believe it was after the second halt or so, I got in to this stock at just over $50, $51.50, and I got in with, I believe, 50 shares. It went up $4 all the way up to $55.50. You could see it even went higher, but I got out at $51.50, so I made about $200. Now, if you guys have been following me, you know that I've been I've had a goal to try to make $500 per trade, at least. So this was well under that $500 goal. It's partly because I've been playing with less money. I have a little less dry powder that I'm trying to play with because just because of the uncertainty in the market, right? We have tariffs going on. We have the pause on tariffs. We have all this volatility and economic uncertainty. It's really affecting the way things are trading, and so I'm trying to be a bit more risk off and a bit more cautious in my trades. That being said, I obviously wasn't satisfied with $200 because had I been satisfied with $200, this probably would have been my last trade of the week, and I would have clocked out, and that would have been my gain for the week. But instead, I continued trading on Friday with 2 trades. So Friday was definitely a pretty crazy day. Lots of halts on the halt scanner, lots of low float names on the pre-market scanner, jumping up, 70%, 60%, 100%. And so I took that as a sign of enough volatility to get back into some plays to see if I could make some money. And unfortunately, that did not happen. So let's take a look at what did happen. I got into this one, AEHL. It was an extremely low float, micro float, jumping on no news. I believe it was a recent reverse split. And I got in with, let me try to think what it was. It was, I believe it was 1,000 shares. I want to say it was like 1,000 shares. And I got in at around the 390s, I think it was. Yeah, it was 392 right out of this halt, right? It halted multiple times. And I figured it would dip below the halt and then rip back up. Typical dip and rip strategy. And that didn't happen. So I got in at the dip, great, 392, 1,000 shares. But then it just kind of kept fizzling out, and I was hoping that it would bounce off to 200, so I took another like 200 shares, to lower my average. It broke down. That didn't happen. Around this time, I start seeing PRTG take off again. And if you guys have been following me, you know that I made some money on PRTG. It was either last week or the week before that. Familiar name. It seemed to be the strongest at this point. It was a little later in the day, so the stronger names are starting to kind of like come out on the scanners. It's easier to see which ones are performing well. So I cut my loss in this. I'm down $1,200, and I immediately go over to PRTG. And here's where the real mistake happened that I'm mostly upset about. So I cut my loss in AEHL. I'm down $1,200. Okay. I figure maybe I can make half of that back. So I get in with 300 shares here at around $10.50, right? $10.50. Because I had already been watching it from like $8, and I thought, man, if I had just cut my loss here and got in, it's already at $10, I could have made a lot of money, or I could have made all my money back. So I decide to get in at $10.50. I think it was right here. And I figure maybe it'll jump up to $14, right? I was looking at the daily chart. It looked like it had resistance at around $13. So if it could break through that 13, there was a good chance that it would go higher and I could sell and at least make most of my money back for the day. So it almost did that. It broke 13, but then got rejected. And instead of selling up there, I decided to hold it because I was looking at this channel that I drew, figuring it would bounce off this channel and then continue higher later in the day. It didn't end up happening. It kind of just fizzled out. The momentum fizzled out. The volume kind of got really choppy, and I decided to hold it. So now I'm down $2 on it, and I'm holding it over the weekend. Definitely not an ideal situation. Definitely not like this types of situation I like to be in. So I'm a little disappointed about that. But hey, mistakes happen. So what I wanted to show you guys was the daily chart on this thing. So you could see it hit almost 13 here back in December. Hit 13 again here in March. And then it's trying again to hit it here in April. And it just can't seem to get over that. But if it does get over that, then you got room all the way up to $23. So I have a average of 350 shares at about $10.22 right now, which is right about here. It's got momentum. You can see it on the daily. It looks like the momentum is flipping over. They got good news. It is a biotech, some type of mesothelioma treatment or something that they're working on. They're in a like late stage phase of testing, something like that. Let's see. Portage said the data showed both single agent activity for Port-7 and a dramatic inhibition of tumor growth when Port-7 was combined with an anti-PD-1 antibody in a marine model of mesothelioma. The company said to their knowledge theirs was the first report of anti-tumor activity against mesothelioma using a selective A2B receptor inhibitor. Portage added it is making preparations to commence a first-in-human clinical trial with Port-7. So that was the latest news, 327. I don't know if there's other news that maybe E-Trade isn't picking up, but it was definitely breaking to higher highs yesterday, and it kind of held it. So I'm looking on Monday to see if it could continue higher and maybe test that 13 spot again. Since it's tested it 3 times now and it's held this amount of volume, it's also a very low float stock. I think it's like 500,000 in the float, crazy low. So it has potential, and that's the only reason I'm holding it. I like to think about losses like this because I have a problem with losses. I think most traders have problems with losses, obviously. My problem with losses is that I can't seem to cut them. I always have a problem cutting them, so I end up bag holding. This has been something that's plagued me my entire trading career. So one thing I like to do is I like to think about the money that I have in a stock that in a position that is a losing position, can that money be serving me better in another position? If the answer is yes, then it's in my best interest to take the money out of the current position and put it in the new position. And that's how I always kind of like to think about losses. I also like to think about it like this. $1,000 loss now is hard to take. But if I were to, if my future self were to come to me from 3 weeks in the future and tell me, if you take that $1,000 loss now, you could make $3,000 in a couple weeks. That's the way I like to think about it. Like, it's a short-term pain for a long-term gain, right? And if I can handle that and get through it, get through the frustration, get through any of the emotions, and trade with my brain, then it's very possible that you take the short-term loss for a longer-term gain. And so that's exactly what the strategy that I'm trying to employ here is I took the money out of AEHL. As you could see, it was going nowhere. There was no volume, no liquidity. It fizzled out very quickly. This stock, at least it has some legs. It's got some continuation. It's got movement. It's got a low flow. It's got a lot of things I like. It's got a momentum indicator that is showing me something good. It's got good volume. So that's the approach that I'm trying to take with this loss. I don't take many losses, so I always try to use them as learning experiences. I always try to use them as a time to recalibrate and rethink and see what am I doing wrong and what am I doing right, and how can I put myself in a better position going forward so that I can get back on track. So that's my spiel for today on losses. I hope you liked it. I'd like to know what you guys are trading, so leave that down in the comments. Thanks for everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you like what you're seeing, please hit that share button, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week.